Hey everybody, what's up? I'm back, and I guess today we're going to talk about how to grow agrostemma. It's also known as corn cockle in some places, I think. This is a hardy annual flower. If you've never heard of a hardy annual, don't worry. I didn't know what it was for a long time. I didn't know things like this existed, but anyway, that's beside the point. All it really means is it's an annual, but the flowers are actually better able to handle frost and cold and even some snow and that kind of thing. So agrostemma is definitely one of those flowers that I had never even heard of until I actually started growing flowers for myself. So if you've never seen this, don't feel bad because I was right there with you, but I kind of like it. So through lots of trial and error, I've come to find out that in my zone, this is actually surprisingly easy to grow. As far as I can tell, there aren't very many color options for agrostemma. It looks like you either got this purple or this white. Since agrostemma like cooler temperatures, at first it was a little tricky to figure out when they would grow the best here in zone 6B, 7, depending on the winter. Anyhow, I went ahead and I direct sowed my seeds in the fall. Now all I did was prepare a bed, I tilled it up a little bit, added some amendments in there, and just broadcasted my seeds into the bed. I planted them, and it was probably about the end of September. The seeds germinated and grew a little bit before temperatures got too cold, and since these are hardy, they didn't have any trouble. Now, I did have a milder than normal winter this year, but it still got down to about 8 degrees Fahrenheit a couple times, and we had a few inches of snow, so it got covered with snow and there wasn't a problem. There was a little bit of damage, and I was like, oh, this isn't looking good, guys. But obviously, as you can see, everything recovered and bloomed, and it's absolutely beautiful. So this year I already had agrostemma in a full bloom around the first week of May, which is really awesome to have flowers this early in the season, considering my last frost date is usually sometime in the first week of May. If you do live somewhere where it gets colder, or you're not sold on the idea that plants can survive your winter, you could probably grow these with a little bit of added protection and they would be safe. But then again, everybody's garden is different, so you have to kind of work and find out what works for you and what doesn't, because it's gardening, it's different for everybody. If you don't like the idea of planting in the fall, you do have a couple of other options. Since these are hardy annuals, they respond really well to using the winter sowing method in milk jugs. If you don't know what the winter sowing method is, I've got tons of videos on it. You can check those out. Personally, really love winter sowing, but these are so easy to sow in the fall. I don't winter sow these. Of course, you could most likely start these seeds indoors in seed trays under grow lights or in your greenhouse if you have one of those. I've personally not tried that. So last but not least, you can also direct sow these in the springtime as soon as your soil can be worked, and that means before your last frost, around the same time that you would plant things like bachelor's buttons out into the garden. The thing to remember about agrostemma is they aren't a kind of cut and come again flower. So if you're using them for cut flowers, if you cut them, they don't keep blooming and blooming and blooming, say like zinnias do. So with that in mind, you might want to consider making succession plantings for a longer bloom time. In my garden, the plants that come from a direct sowing in fall are almost always the strongest and most vigorous plants. They seem to do really well planted in a big mass, and I didn't even thin my seeds or anything, so a lot of these are planted really close together. The weeds didn't really smother them out or anything like that. I didn't pull weeds. You know I don't pull weeds. The flowers do look very delicate, and I'm actually always surprised by how sturdy they are. For example, these have been through probably at least 5 rainstorms, and we had pea-sized hail yesterday, and they're still standing. You might want to consider planting these in a protected area, because as you can imagine, they're tall and skinny, and they sway quite a bit in the breeze, but it's really pretty on a nice day. I hope that all this information was helpful, and if it was, be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends and subscribe, because I would absolutely love to have you. All my links to all my social media stuff is down in the description. And as always, I hope it's really sunny wherever you are, and I hope you're having a really great day. Bye, guys.